Okay, so you guys have quite a bit of invoices in there, so I just wanted to show you how to create a deposit. Anything that you do outside of the system, you do in the system. The smallest, most tedious task, whatever you do. If you build a burrito, you take the beans, you take the beef, you take the tomato, whatever it is, put it in the burrito, build the recipe, make the burrito, sell the burrito. Anything you do to anything in the system, you do outside the system, you do in here. So if you go to your assets, which is again money you're bringing in of any sort, we're going to go to your deposit homepage. I don't know if any are there. I just want to look. There's one deposit, number 1. So there was a couple sales in there.
And I'm not even sure who did that one. Like, we didn't do it in class, so it was somebody who was just playing. So minor detail. So there happened to be a deposit in my deposit homepage. Had I wanted to create a deposit, it would have obviously not had anything there. But say we want to create a deposit and we want it to be for the cash drawer. We want to put some money in the cash drawer. And we want it to be from, we'll say today. I don't know what the amount's going to be because I haven't assessed the situation. And you can do this anytime you want because maybe, you're not there every day seeing the sales, but you're creating the deposits on the back end. So I'm just going to put a 0. I'm going to say cash sales. Hit add deposit. It's going to give me all of my deposits, all of my invoices here that are outstanding as far as not being deposited. They've been sold, money's been collected, but nothing has been deposited anywhere. So you can be very specific up at the top here to search your invoice payments. This pulls up everything. Well, I just want to know 1023. All these are mostly 1023. I want to make a deposit based off of I want to do 1023. So it already specifies headquarters depending on which location you're working with. I'm going to put in 1023 to 1023. And I'm going to hit search. Right here, if I want to, okay, let me hit search first. It's going to pull up anything that happened on 1023. What I forgot to mention is that, or search for, is that I only want cash because this is going to go into the cash drawer. I'm not going to put a check in the cash drawer. So I'm like, okay, oops, hold on. I'm going to specify what type of money. It's cash. It's 1023, and I'm going to hit search again. Now it's going to put up only cash. So I'm going to select the 2 invoices. I'm going to hit add. These are asterisk fields here. It already says invoices. What if I was making a deposit and I wanted to actually transfer money somewhere else? That's fine too. You can go ahead and select bank transfer. What if it had something to do? You wouldn't be grabbing invoice payments if you were doing a bank transfer, okay? That's almost like a semi-admin type feature. Like, you don't want Joe Blow, who's doing your kind of building your little deposits, to be like, I want to transfer some money, okay? That's actually tied to the admin permission, just so you know.
Yes, definitely permission.
Yes.
Because there are companies that, do transfers in such a way as well. They transfer money from invoice sales and they transfer it over to a different account, like a holding account or whatever. And then they go into that other holding account and make a transfer on the same day for the same amount in that account, and so it balances itself out as a transfer. But we're just going to select invoices here, and it's at the headquarters, and we're going to add that deposit. Now it created deposit number 2. So now what's happening here? The numbers are not matching up. If I were to go to my deposit homepage, say I just was going through class and I just forgot to change the amount because I didn't know it in the beginning, that's where you get a frowny face. You don't want frowny faces. So as you're going through your stuff later, looking at your homepage, you're like, oh wait, what happened there? You go to edit, and what is happening? Well, Adilas is so awesome, it tells you, check your math, girl. So go to your edit main. Edit main is going to be anything in the main information of the deposit. Main information being, is it your cash drawer? Is it your bank? What is it? Is it your savings? The date you made it. Remember the number it assigned, the amount. Was it verified and seen in your bank and posted? Obviously these amounts are not correct, so it throws it off like that. If you go to edit main, it opens up the initial part of the deposit, and you can put in your amount, which is also awesome, is that it puts the amount on the right side there in the parentheses. So you don't have to sit there and say, okay, wait a minute, let me back up. What was that? Okay, $20.91. You don't have to remember a lot of things like you do in a lot of other systems.
So you're going to just put 2091, even though all of us remember numbers like crazy, I'm sure. So now you have 2091 and 2091. What's going to happen if I go back to my deposit homepage? The frowny face is gone. That's what you want. so being in there, I have everything I want now. Now what am I going to say? Okay, I was looking at my, if it were the bank account, which it's not, it's your cash drawer, then you would want to verify. Whether it's your cash drawer or your bank, you're going to want to verify anyways, because you want to know that not only did you collect it and put it somewhere, but it was done on this day. So I'm going to verify it. With the cash drawers, it's always simple. You did it that day. You could change the date right there to whatever it is. So if it had this been the bank account and it was actually deposited on another day, you put that day there, verifying that you saw it. And how it says, you know, check it saying you saw it in the bank, that could be your cash bank or your bank. Doesn't matter. You're just going to verify.
Some people get happy and they're just like, create the deposit, quick, verify it. So
And it's not the right date.
Technically what happens, you create the thing and it has the initial date, okay? So basically imagine those little bubbles, okay? It advanced into the little bubble. The next bubble, the verified date, is when did the bank actually see that. Click. And so basically it just advances that. Because we want to kind of monitor how long it took for the thing to actually, the bank physically saw it, and yes, it was the exact amount, et cetera, okay? That's the difference between the dates there.
Okay, so that's how you create a deposit. There's other scenarios, of course. One scenario being, let me go back to the deposit homepage because I want to see what's being done. Maybe I have 3 different managers at places that on a daily make deposits for what they sold that day. Okay, so I don't really make them, but I'm needing to figure them out or look at them with bank statements and reports or whatever I do. So I'm going to look at that deposit number 1 because it was already created. But what I'm noticing is that there's cash and check. So, you know, if you run across a deposit and had cash and check and it was for the cash drawer, well, that would trigger right away, wait a minute, you can't put a check in the cash drawer. There's little tiny things like that that will skip over people. What might have happened in that case is when they search for the deposits, they just put that date in like I did. They didn't specify cash or not. That could happen. So what if this deposit was supposed to be to the bank, but it was only supposed to be cash? And now I'm doing my bank statement and it's saying, oh, you know what, $22.96 was deposited. Why is it saying $251.66? And it'll drive you nuts because you're like, there's the deposit, it's that day. It was on that day, like what's the deal here? You know, and you'll start looking through stuff, you know, you're like, okay, here's the invoices. Anything that's blue has a link, which is awesome because you can look at it any way you want. Okay, I'm going to go in here. What day was this? This was a sale on 10/22. Okay, I'm going to backspace 1. What day was this invoice, number 4? It was on 10/22. Well, what's the problem? Like, how come my deposit is off? And then you finally realize, okay, well, wait a minute, that's a check. Like, I didn't put a check, I only put cash. So what are you going to do? Because you've already created the deposit. Well, if you verified it in the bank, like I did that last time,
She's kind of trying to show you some flow here, okay? This is a little bit of a light trickery that you have to do in case somebody got a little trigger happy, okay?
yeah, or in case you did.
Yes, yes, yes.
You're just like,
The funny thing is, you'll be surprised if you ever go up to the history, like, who did this thing? Oh,
yeah.
sorry.
It was me. And you're like, why are people doing this wrong? I can't believe. And then you look at the history, you know, which, just so you know, is always going to be at top. Okay, well, who did that? Because I know it wasn't me. And then lo and behold, it was me. So, and it'll tell you, you know what? What did they do? On this day at this exact time, they added this line item for this amount. On this day at this exact time, they added this line item. On this day at this time, they verified it. Okay, well, what I'm going to do is back up 1. Now I'm like, okay, great. Now I have this deposit and it's wrong. I know that this check shouldn't have been in there. What do I do? Well, how do I get rid of it? I can't get rid of it. Why can't you get rid of it? Because you already took the step of verifying that you saw it somewhere.
You advance the ball past the next checkpoint into the next little holding tank, okay?
So my first thought would be what? Void it. Well, I hate to void things. Okay? You can, but I hate it. So just so you know, you can go back to the verify, uncheck the box. I didn't see it in the bank. And when you do that, you can remove items. So that's why I'm always...
You backed it up to the, you said, oh, it didn't get advanced. Somebody advanced it. Who had the permissions to do that? I'm now going to pull it back to the other next level. Okay?
You can do that within deposits, expenses. I mean, if you take out the fact that you saw it somewhere, you can manipulate what's in the item.
So you don't like to void it just because that's you.
That's just
You'd
a
rather
main thing.
correct it.
It says void. I don't like to,
But if you void it, then you can start over.
right?
You put it more into that.
What you want to
I don't
do,
want to unclutter my mess.
No, basically it just creates it and it'll show on, what it is on the deposit homepage, it's a rolling 30 days. And so you're totally like, you can tell Roxanne is very detail oriented, okay? If she sees avoid, it's kind of like, it's just kind of a mental block to her.
I don't like it.
Technically, the system's like,
It'll void it. You can void
I'm
everything.
just going to run right past it. And within 30 days, that's just going to cycle itself out. It still exists as the data, but it's not going to be right in front of your face. But she's like, I need to just spend a little bit of time to fix it. So she's kind of showing you some fixing options right here, okay?
So if you wanted to fix it, all you'd have to do is unverify it, so it says no. Then you would come in and you'd say, I don't want that check in there, I'm going to remove it. You just click on the link and it says, are you sure? Yes. Then you can either go back to your deposit homepage or you can go back to your actual deposit. I want to go back. Okay, so now what happened? It took it out, but now the amount's off because remember we thought it was a bigger amount. So what would I do? I'd go to the main section to say, hey, it wasn't that much money. What does it do? It gives me the right money. I don't even have to do the math. And I'm going to say, you know what, it wasn't a check. It was cash, and it was my bank account. It wasn't my cash drawer. So now the amounts match up, and I'm going to say this was, I forget, what day was this sale? 22nd? Okay, I'm going to say that I did it on
So she's pretending now
the
that she's actually
23rd.
looking up her bank balance. So virtually, if you have two screens, you have Adilas open and you have your bank account open, okay? So Adilas says that this happened on such and such date, and then you're looking for, oh, cool, now I'm going to look at my verified dates. So you're virtually matching up against the bank.
Okay, so
She's
now
reconciling. Exactly.
I'm going to say it was on the 23rd, the next day, I made a deposit. Now it's verified, it's cash, it was a cash sale. Now I'm going to make a deposit. I'm going to make it to my default bank again today. I don't know what amount because I don't know what I'm doing yet. So as a bookkeeper, accountant, whatever, manager, whoever creates your deposits, you can just look at your bank statement or whatever report, whatever you're looking at, and you can say, okay, I'm going to do my deposits. And you could just start clicking, making your deposits. You could say, well, you know what, I know that this one was for $220, and I know that it was invoice sales. I'm going to add it. Okay, I'm not going to worry about what goes in the middle. I'm just going to go back to my home page. I'm going to create another deposit because I see it on my sheet, and it's going to be into my bank, and it's going to be on
How about
the
yesterday's date?
26th, or yesterday, the 23rd, and it's going to be for $100 because I see it in my bank, and it's going to be checks. It was checks. I'm going to add it. So even though you're not putting details in it, if you go to your other tab to your deposit homepage and refresh, I created deposits regardless if I finished them or not. Sometimes you don't realize that you're creating things in Adilas because you're just going so fast, and even though you may not be finishing them or you're using the back button, sometimes it can actually work against you, that back button, because you can be doing something to the back button and you didn't realize you just created two things. So you want to make it kind of a habit to always be checking your home pages, your deposits and your expenses. That way you're not sitting there creating like 10 things and then you really didn't do it. A lot of my clients do that with invoices or payroll. They'll select and they'll create like 3 payrolls for 1 paycheck, and then they're like, well, why is that there? And believe it or not, those payrolls are going to affect your tax reporting and stuff if you don't get them out of there. So you want to make it a habit of always checking your home pages and making sure that you're seeing what you've been doing.
So this is a pro and a con, but because we're using a browser, what happens is the browser, the internet, it basically says, my job is to jump wherever I want to jump. So if you jump, say you were in ad mode, and say you said, cool, I'm in ad mode, add it. Oh man, I forgot to add the phone number. You hit your back button. So technically, you told the browser to say, jump back to where I was with exactly the same data. It still thinks it's in ad mode. It's a browser thing, okay? And then if you do it and you hit go like that, it's like, oh, cool, I'm still in ad mode. It kind of will roll forward. There are certain places that we put some checks, but like, basically that's just a learning thing. That's kind of a browser deal. What happens ideally is you go like this, add it, and then if you made a mistake, look for the edit link, okay? Because you can edit it 50 million times, and it's basically going back to the original data and physically manipulating, stamping that versus like adding, okay?
adding it, you haven't stamped it into Adilas yet. You're still open.
We're still open.
Whereas edit, it's already been.
It's already
recorded,
there.
now you're
We already know which one we're dealing with. But in the add mode, it's saying, whoa, I've got new information. Put it. Like, stick it into insert it. That's
You
basically
almost have to put the save or the
correct. Yeah.
enter.
Okay, so now I'm like, okay, wait a minute, what's going on here? These aren't right. Or I realize, you know what, I didn't do it right. I mean, that wasn't right. You can either do what half the population will do and void it, which is absolutely fine. And you could just,
She's barely getting this out between her teeth. You can tell.
I'm like, which is fine. And you could say, okay, I gotta get rid of that and happy face. It really wasn't $220. I don't know what happened. I don't know who created that, whatever. And of course, you could look at the history. Who is doing that? Oh, okay, it's me. Okay. So you could say edit. And you know what? I'm just not even going to deal with this. I'm not going to fix it. I'm just going to avoid it. Void it, and it was just an error. It was a duplicate. It was a whatever. Void it. You can go back to your deposit homepage, and it says void. So it all depends on if you want to see that void or not. You can void everything, anywhere, whatever, invoices, expenses, void it all. Or if you want to fix it, and you're like, okay, wait a minute, you know what? I don't even know where that $100 came from. Maybe it was an expense on my bank statement, and I actually put it in as a deposit. What was I thinking? Okay, you can go edit it. And you know what? It wasn't even done on the 24th. It was done on the 25th. Okay, you can go to edit main. I mean the 23rd. It was done on the 24th. It was on the 24th. It was my default bank. But you know what? It was a different amount. I don't know right now because I'm not looking at the sales, but say it was $300, whatever. And it was checks. And I'm going to hit edit. What did that do? Now it changed the date. Had I put an amount, would have put the amount, but you still kept your deposit number 4. But now, you know what? It was only checks. So what's this gift card? Take it out. And you know what, in all actuality, I don't even know when those sales were, so I'm just going to take it all out because I want to make sure. But what I've asked of Brandon...
Every single time she's clicking something, behind the scenes, the system history is going nuts right now, okay? It's like, got it, got it, got it, got it. Because those are physical actions, okay? Like, she feels like she's cleaning it up, and she is. She totally is. But behind the scenes, it's like, just so you know, Roxanne, so somebody added this thing to it, and then somebody removed it, removed it, removed it, removed it. Like, it's okay. It's not a big deal. But like, she just barely asked for a new request. She's like,
I did.
I would really like it if I could get to a deposit, and if something's completely wrong and I haven't verified it yet, could I possibly say, could you undo me so I can redo it by myself instead of like clicking remove? Are you sure? Yes. Remove. Are you sure? Yes. You know, kind of like doing those type of things.
What if I had like $4,000 in here of sales, and like there's like 30 line items in here? Like it's like click, yes, remove, click, yes, remove, click, yes, remove. Because I'm so anal and I don't want to avoid. That's why.
But just
That's
so
why.
there's multiple ways you can skin this cat, and it doesn't really hurt it at all. But
So I'm going to remove them all, which is still saving the deposit. And now I don't have anything in there. So what am I going to do? I'm going to search for my payments, either here or here. And I'm going to say, okay, this is on the 24th, and it's deposit number 4, and you know, you can search dates, or you can just look at what's here, depending on how much you have in your system, or if you know it was just in the last couple of days, it's going to pop up. It's up to you. This can go on and on and on and on if you've been doing business for months. So I'm going to say this was, what did I say, checks, I think?
yes.
I'm going to say they're checks. I did it on the 24th. So I'm just going to grab a couple. I'm going to grab this one and this one. What if these were all what I needed? Because I selected the search range and it's all of them. I can hit select all. That could be good or bad, the select all, because you know what? Maybe I did select all, which is what I did the other day, actually at your place. And I was creating and just going for it. And then I selected them all, selected them all, selected them all, created. And I said, oh no, wait a minute, they're not right, because I put all the checks in with the cash and they're all supposed to be cash. So I'm like, oh no, so that's why I had to remove.
So
remove.
Also, just as a small note, it depends on the industry. You can tell Roxanne is very careful to like not mix check and cash. Like a standard retail place that has a normal bank or whatever like this, they're like checks and cash, and even like say like a money order, that can all go on the same deposit, no problem. Your Visa and MasterCard might be a separate deposit.
And your Amex.
Your Amex might be a separate deposit, but like depending on your industry, might depend not every single one has to just be cash or just check. It depends on your industry.
Okay, so I'm going to deselect all because I'm only going to do a couple. I'm just going to do maybe that and that from the 23rd. And I'm going to say add.
This is the beauty of a play site. You see how she's in here just kind of like playing, and she's learning and she's doing and she's playing around, okay?
So now I have
It doesn't
my,
hurt anything.
I'm going to go to edit main.
Or if you select them all and then just deselect the ones.
You totally could, yep, love it.
Yeah, either way, because it depends on how big the data is that it's searched and found, you know. Maybe you select all because you know the majority are cash and that's what you're making as a cash deposit, but you know there's like maybe 5 visas, just deselect the 5 visas instead of selecting all the 50 cash, you know. Yeah, you could work it for you, whatever. Now I'm going to change it because otherwise why? It's going to have an unhappy face, right? So I need to change my amount to 200 and it is checks. And there we go, 200, 200. And even though they were sales from the 23rd and I made the deposit on the 24th, maybe because they're checks, the checks didn't really, it didn't go through until the next day. Maybe I made it like 5 o'clock and they already processed something or whatever. So I could actually put the 25th because that's when it actually posted to the bank account. You know that happens.
Once again, pretend that she's actually physically verifying that.
So I verified that. That is actually when you verify things is one step towards your reconciling and accounting. You may have somebody that does deposits and they don't do your reconciling. So they may never verify anything because they don't know what to put. So they're just going to put, you know, the deposit in, put the invoices in, and that's that. Then as the bookkeeper or accountant, you're going to go in and you're going to verify when you saw it in the bank, and that's all part of your reconciling. So I have that deposit now.
But I seen, sorry, I seen on there that before you even verify, it says that you can lock. On the left-hand side where the squares are, it says that you can lock. So you can click lock, and is that a type of verify, or is that just locking that in place?
So what it is it deals with permissions again, okay? So if somebody has the basic permission, and somebody's like, I'm going to lock these, what it does is the person who has the basic permission can no longer go to the next level. It's literally another barrier. Okay? There's multiple barriers. In the lock, when you finally eventually verify something, we lock everything for you. Like, hey, just so you know, like, you don't have to do it. But the way it was originally set up was multiple different, you had your salespeople, your managers, your accounting, your ad, it kind of rolls in a way, okay? So we decided all these different little levels. So the locking, what it did, is when you locked it, anybody that was below a certain level, they could only play to that certain level. And then only people who had the advanced settings could go further. That's what the lock was.
So I'm going to create, because now I did my cash for that day, there was still sales for the 23rd. There was a lot going on the 23rd. Now I need to make my deposit for what? My Visa payment. I had a Visa payment, and on my bank account it doesn't show up with my cash deposit. Even though it may be the same day, it doesn't show up the same way.
Let's pretend that you're going to do your Visa stuff, and there's going to be a $3.24 charge. So basically, your Visa payments aren't going to actually match up with what your bank says because Visa pulled out an extra $3.24. Okay, just for fun. This happens for real life. Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to add my deposit again. Again, you can put in the search criteria and you can say, you know what, I'm going to look for Visa. And I'm just going to leave the dates open, but you could specify dates if you wanted to. Sometimes when you're reconciling your bank or you're looking at your merchant statement itself, if you're reconciling that way, which you should be if you have them, then you know you're going to go through and you're going to say, okay, you know what, this was made, this was a sale on the 23rd, but you know what, it usually takes 2-3 days. So I'm going to put from the 23rd to the 26th, and then it'll pull them up. Amex will take longer, as we all know. So I mean, you know, you want to give it some time.
It takes 4 to 5 days usually for Amex, and your Visa MasterCard is usually between 2 to 3 days, depending on your merchant processor.
So if you see them there, you know what? Maybe you only saw a $20 one though. You didn't see $76.24. Well, that's how you're going to figure out, okay, it was actually a $20 one. And we're going to add it to the deposit. So there's that.
So just for fun, let's pretend that the physical deposit in the bank was something like $18.50 or something, okay? Basically Visa, because you used a Visa card, they pulled out a transaction fee, okay? How would you make this thing get back to $18.50 or whatever it was?
So it's $23.50 is the total. And now it's off by $3.50.
Usually it's in the opposite direction. It goes negative because what happens is we'll actually have to add an adjustment. So a negative certain, and then it will apply it to the credit card payments, which is basically another way to map it to the income statement saying a revenue adjustment. Okay, so that's kind of, in the accounting terms, like we sold it for 20, okay, and physically we were thinking we were going to get 20, and that's what it's on our invoice. But when the bank finally got it, it was like, oh, sorry, I'm $18.50. I want to account for that other $1.50. So we call it a revenue adjustment. It gets added to the deposit, and then we kind of roll from there. So
We'll say it was $3.50 still.
sure, no problem. So basically,
So now we have $3.50. So obviously we can't verify it or we can't reconcile because it's off. But what do you do with that $3.50? This all comes down to how you account for miscellaneous fees, charges, whatever. So I'm going to put $3.50.
so you would actually do negative $2.50 right here.
And I'm going to say it's
Probably a fee or something like that.
fee. And I'm going to say it's,
Probably a revenue adjustment.
So
it automatically says credit card in there too.
You do have a button that says, I'm not sure.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
So what you do there is
I love that one. I'm like, just put on not sure. We'll talk about that later.
you create a bucket, okay? Everything needs to eventually get into a bucket. You throw it into the I'm not sure bucket, and it's instantly a flag. Because guess what? When you pull your income statement or your balance sheet or anything like that, those things are going to be like, what about me? What about me? It's kind of like a, please circle back. Okay? Please circle back.
So this is, again, anything with the asterisk you can put in there.
Now, you put the minus sign, could it also be the parentheses, or?
So just do a minus.
The minus.
Just do minus 350.
The minus. And then, of course, if it was positive, you know,
Yeah,
whichever
you don't
the
want
need
to use
is.
positive.
Because in the accounting, sometimes it's the,
That's actually just what's called a view of it. Like that's.
but as far as entering, we just do the minus.
Just do a minus sign. It's called a mask, is what they call it. Like, how do you want that to look? Like,
Yeah.
is it red or is it parentheses? It will. Show
Yeah,
up
like
in
right here
parentheses.
even.
Yeah,
Shows
yeah.
that that's actually,
Yeah.
okay, so I'm just going to add my line item.
And just so you know, like in order to get this special feature on the bottom of your invoice, your deposit right here, you actually have to have the admin permission. So your sales guys, they get basic and then the sales ability. They can say, I can see invoice payments and I can add them to my deposit. That's all the further I can go, okay? To actually get this whole level where you're like, I want to be able to edit and tweak and play, that's admin level on deposit, okay? So basically, how far are we advancing that ball according to the permissions?
And then, you know, you can be working with transfers from one account to another. You could have made a telephone or an internet transfer, online transfer of funds or something. So, you know, in one account, you're going to actually create a deposit because you sent $100 from your savings to your checking account. So you would actually create a deposit just like we've been doing, and then you would put it for the $100. But right here in the deposit type, you would hit bank transfer. And then what you would do is you would create another deposit in your savings account, and you would actually, an expense in your savings account.
Money comes out.
Saying that
money
you
goes in,
spent
so-
money. But in the expense receipt, which we're going to go to right now, you know what, we're going to do that.
So you
Let me
need to
just hit
bank
okay.
then, if you have checking and savings,
Yeah.
you have them two accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do that right now.
If
Just
you're
so you can-
Two banks even.
If you're moving pieces around, okay?
Yeah. I'm trying to think of different scenarios. If you guys think of any, let me know.
So check this. This is kind of fun. Inside of your inventory, your incoming is POs. Okay, your outgoing is usually invoices. On your banks, you have deposits and expenses, and they're actually affecting that little bank.
Debit, credit,
It's
debit,
a
credit.
similar type scenario. One deals with inventory, the other one deals with physical money. Right?
So now we have that in there, and what happened? It went right as far as the balance goes. It's not off because we put that fee in there. What that's going to do also is it's going to keep the account type for your accounting. So if we were to go to your P&L right now,
Yep,
which
go
I'm
to
going to go on another one,
Yep.
go home, go to my reports, and I'm going to go to my profit and loss, and I'm just going to say
You guys see how
from-
fast she's clicking around there? Like once you learn the system, sometimes you just go, sorry. No, you're perfect. You're
I'm going to
perfect.
show everything because I want to see, I always look at everything. So the only thing I manipulate when I go into, again, when I go to look at my P&L, is I go to my report, my P&L, and all I change is show everything. I don't mess with anything else. And it's going to break it all down of what's going on, what's went on, blah, blah, blah. What's going to happen here is it's going to
There's
show
your credit
me,
card fees right there. You just go
Oops.
past it right there. It's $3.50
There it is.
in our credit card fees.
So these are
automatically
adjusted.
found its way to the P&L.
You actually have a bad debt that you went in there. I think I heard that yesterday.
Yeah.
So it'll show you bad
Will
debt.
Smith, he couldn't handle it, so.
So it shows you everything. If you're working with, if you're looking at your P&L and you're just like, okay, wait a minute, I don't understand, like, this is gonna be where you will, okay. I'm going a little too far. We're gonna go back to the P&L in a moment.
So-
I just
so
wanted to show you where the fee was.
one of the other pieces that's kind of important, you're noticing that Roxanne didn't say, I'm gonna credit this, and I'm gonna credit this. She's just doing a natural action that happens and follows, okay?
When it happens.
And then we're gonna help you map to where it needs to go according to like what's going on.